Thank you. To ask the First Minister for what reason consultants have reportedly been hired to advise on the next Clyde and Hebrides ferry contract.
First Minister.
We are committed to engaging with our various stakeholders in the development of the next generation of the Clyde and Hebrides ferry services contracts, including, of course, engaging with our island communities. As I said yesterday at the Conveners Committee, it's routine practice to use specialist advisers for complex, high-value projects such as this one, to help ensure that we deliver a service that meets our needs and delivers value for money. Our external advisers will assist with commercial and programme management of the project. They'll provide a level of technical expertise to ensure the contract reflects industry best practice to deliver a service that meets both current and indeed future requirements. We'll also seek the views of communities and other stakeholders to inform the approach that's been taken.
Graham Simpson.
Well, the problem is the Scottish Government has now spent £5.5 million on consultants to advise them on what to think about how to run the ferry network. We've had Project Neptune, that set out a number of options. Then Angus Campbell was tasked with asking islanders what they think. What's been the outcome of that? The current contract with CalMac, which has already been extended, expires in 15 months' time. There's no time left to start the procurement process for the next time. The government's approach has been all dither, delay and incompetence. Absolutely. So, can the First Minister tell us if CalMac will be awarded another extension, and is he now considering a new operating model for how we run and procure ferries?
First Minister.
We know that the Tories for a long time have not liked the use of experts. That has been something that they've made clear over the years. But I do think it's so important that a contract on a project of this size does get in the technical expertise that is required. And look, I'll make no apologies at all for the fact that we are engaging with the island communities. And Graham Simpson is absolutely right to mention that work being taken forward by Angus Campbell. That was, of course, a recommendation, a key recommendation of the Project Neptune report. So Angus Campbell has spent the past few months visiting, engaging with island communities and ferry users, and that report should be with ministers very, very soon. And although there's no specific obligation to inform Parliament to procurement competitions, we will, of course, update Parliament in relation to decisions that are taken, because we understand just how important this matter is. What we are looking to do is, of course, ensure that island communities have the best possible service that they possibly can. And we are focused on making sure that the current service is as resilient and reliable as possible. That's why, of course, we made sure we chartered, or CalMac chartered, the MV Alfred. What I will also do, what I won't do, is preempt the outcome, of course, of the current work that's taking place. But what I can restate unequivocally is that we have no plans to privatise nor indeed split up the Clyde and Hebrides ferry network.
Rhoda Grant.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The problem with the Clyde and Hebrides ferry service is not the contract, but it's the ferry fleet. And the First Minister knows the provision of the fleet is the responsibility of the Scottish Government. A consultant's report can't cover up their dismal failure to provide working ferries. Will he now apologise for his own and his government's failure to provide ferries that are up to the job?
First Minister.
Well, we have invested in our ferry service, our ferry fleet. We're, of course, going to invest and continue to invest with 6 ferries to add to that fleet and to add to the resilience of that fleet. But in the meantime, we're not waiting for those ferries to be built. Where we can charter additional tonnage, we are doing so. And CalMac has spent a considerable amount of money, rightly so, in order to ensure that they have the MV Alfred in place, which is currently, of course, providing that additional resilience on the Arran route, a very important route for the islanders, of course, but very important to Scotland too.
Donald Cameron.
The island of Mull is currently at the sharp end of Scotland's ferry crisis, with many people simply unable to get on or off the island as a result of the SNP's catastrophic management of our ferry network. Residents are at their wits' end, especially with the alternative route via the Corran ferry being out of service. Island communities are rightly calling for a compensation scheme, so will the First Minister commit to this, and what urgent action will he take to sort out the problems currently being suffered by islanders on Mull?
First Minister.
Well, I'm sure that the Transport Minister communicates with Donald Cameron directly about the actions we're taking in relation to the issues that are facing the community on Mull. Of course, these issues around compensation have understandably and rightly been raised many a time with the Government, and I have looked into the issue around those penalty deductions that are made in relation to failures on the network. My view is that we should continue to use that money to reinvest into the ferry network. I think there is a legitimate call around the use of those deductions, but I would say that I think the best use of that money is reinvesting back into the network. To give just one example, I've mentioned the MV Alfred already. It's been chartered at a cost of £9 million. About £1 to £3 million of that is coming from the performance deductions and those penalties that Donald Cameron mentioned. So I think it's right that that money is reinvested for the benefit of the entire resilience of the network.